Hey everybody, I'm Lisa Young Sutton, and today we are looking at the Lenormand Garden Card. The garden is the social card of the deck. It references interaction with others, the public, those you encounter in life, but it also references the surroundings you find yourself in and the environment. So it's also the environment card of the deck. The garden can relate to any group of people, as well as events and social gatherings or associations or peer groups you belong to. It can show up to describe anything that happens outside, in the open, or in public. If the house is the card of our inner world, the garden is the card of the outer world. In this sense, it may indicate being exposed or coming out. This card may describe parties, social events, celebrations, festivals, public entertainment, or public assemblies, as well as the locations where they are held. It may refer to any outdoor activity or literally the park, your yard, or a garden. Its energy is positive neutral. When you see the garden, think of words and phrases such as society, the public, your community, large gatherings or the places where they take place, groups, crowds, socializing, friends, social events, entertaining, guests, audiences, networking, contacts, alliances, public announcements, parties, festivals, sharing, expansion, exposure, disclosure, the environment, outside, the atmosphere, or anything on public display. Descriptively, the garden can refer to any outdoor location, natural settings, places where people gather, especially where people show their best sides, and that correlates with the original meaning of the card. Or the outdoor area of your home or property, large airy spaces, places with many trees, green areas, recreational areas, public areas, and buildings that many visit, such as airports, train stations, hospitals, museums, theaters, and public libraries. It can also describe anything that's popular or trending. Now, describing a person, they'd be active, open, and easy to read. They care for their appearance like a well-landscaped garden. They're sociable, gregarious, popular, influential, and outgoing. They love interacting with others and want to make a good impression, as reputation is important to them. For garden types, emotional fulfillment comes from outside of them. And they love to be in the spotlight, so they love entertaining. They tend to be open-minded and team players. Occupations include entertainers, actors, party or event planners, gardeners, partiers, and socialites. I don't know if partiers can be an occupation. I want to apply for that job. All right, anyway, in a daily draw, you may make new friends today, form new alliances with others, or interact with people you've never met before, like you're expanding your world, right? You may spend some time outside at the park or venturing out into new territory, which may only refer to your way of thinking. In advice readings, it can tell you to get out and meet new people, listen to the others or to others' opinions, and consider other points of view. Open up to others, expand your mind. Go outside for a change of scenery and some recreation. Learn something new by going to the library, the museum, or the bookstore. Be a team player. Learn how to share. Take care of social obligations. Get out of the house. Mingle and be sociable. Try going out without your phone. Look around and really see and hear the environment and those who you share it with. Ooh, that can all be what the garden is trying to say in an advice reading, okay? Now, in a work or business reading, it can reference your colleagues, your clients, networking, advertising, reaching a broader audience, public relations, environmental issues, or businesses or careers related to the environment. It may indicate large meetings or conventions, consumers, public opinion, or advertising. Now, in a spiritual reading, it may ask you to seek or form a group of like-minded people. Join a Tai Chi, yoga, meditation, or mediumship group, or perform these things outdoors or with other people, or simply commune with nature. It can also reference a need to evaluate how you're interacting with others, or suggest that you bring some new people into your life to introduce you to alternative ideas and inspire you in new ways. Now, in a relationship reading, it can refer to going out on a date or meeting in a public place. It can also refer to interference of others in a relationship if it's with unfavorable cards. It may refer to meeting someone through others. With the ring, it can describe a wedding ceremony. And with cards such as the Tower and Fox, it may describe a relationship that lacks depth and is based on just going out and being seen together. Now, in a health reading, it may refer to any group of people who play a role in your health or health care. It's one of the traditional tree cards, so you want it close to the tree as it shows there will be support from others. Now, it's also the card of contagion, public diseases and infections, and pandemics. Its connection to fruit, right, the reference to the Garden of Eden, says that it may refer to a need for more fruit or vitamin C in your diet. It may reference an allergen found in the environment, especially with the bouquet. It may indicate recovery through fresh air, rest, and relaxation by going to a spa or a retreat, any place where one goes to recuperate. Now, looking at the cards on the table, well, most decks will show some sort of park or garden or, an outdoor, a lovely outdoor area, right? The Fairy Tale Fortune card says the garden, celebrations, and new friendships. And we have the verse card. Let's read the verse card. He who stands close to this garden, many good friends will make. For him who is far away from it, a dangerous turn friendships will take. And that will make more sense in a moment when I get to the method of distance meaning. Okay? Now, we can compare it to a few cards. I'm going to use my Primal Lenormand, the deck of many names here. All right, so we can compare the garden to the tower because the garden references extroverts and the tower can reference introverts. Another way to compare the garden to the tower is when you're describing locations, right? Because the tower would describe an urban setting, the garden would describe a country setting, and then the house, just pretend the house is there, the house would describe suburban settings, right? So the house would be suburban, the tower urban, and the garden country. Okay? Well, there's the house right there. Okay, so we can compare it to the house. For the house is your private life, your inner world, and the garden is your outer life or your public world. We can compare it to the book because the book is about secrets, right? Keeping secrets, whereas the garden is about openly disclosing information, right? The book is hidden, the garden is exposed. We can compare it to the dog because the dog is your best friend or one loyal friend, while the garden could be many friends or your social network, your social circle, right? Okay, now let's get out, thank you cards, let's get out a grand tableau. This is what I'm actually reading now for someone. And it was perfect for this video because of the where the garden falls. Let's see if I have it in view. Yes, I do. Okay, that is my Chakra Lenormand mini deck. Oops, oh, caught. All right, anyway. my microphone is caught. Okay, now I'll get to this GT in a minute. All right. First, I want to read to you the plot, right? We know the plot. By now, you should all know what the plot is. The plot is the Philippe Lenormand original translation. Okay, let me read that to you. The park prognosticates that you will visit a very respectable company. If very near, that you are to form a very intimate friendship, but if distant, it hints to false friends. Oh, geez, the wording. Okay. I love that word, prognosticates. That's not a word you hear every day. It just means like to prophesy, right? Okay, if you think about the far meaning, it's saying that when the social card is out of reach, you don't have others around you supporting you. And if you have a lot of people telling you they have your back, but this card is far, then they probably don't, right? Hence the term false friends. Now, okay, so the biggest difference, really, you know, we're talking about loyalty here and friends, right? Which makes everybody think of the dog. So, you know, you can look at the dog as referencing just one friend or your best friend or those who have proven loyalty to you, right? Whereas the garden would represent a circle of friends or just those you encounter in the circles that you travel in. But the most important difference is that the dog refers to loyalty and faithfulness, while the garden represents general friendships and alliances with others. Okay? Now, the coffee card verse is pretty much the same thing. Near it references being in the company of many people or having many good friends. And far, it asks you to be cautious and not take as friends those who merely profess themselves as such. Whew. Okay. The original game instructions. The garden is mentioned in relation to the book. If you landed on the book, you were sent back 6 spaces to the garden. And what that says to me is that the secrets held within the book stem from your social environment. So you must go back there to sort it out. I mean, remember that the garden can refer to other people or public spaces such as libraries or the internet, right? So isn't that how we discover hidden information? So it really made sense to me. Okay, so the garden has no directional cue. It is part of the interpersonal cluster along with the dog and the child. We want to see this cluster forming a constellation around our card to indicate that we're interacting well with others and as well as being liked and seen as easy to get along with and loyal. So are you noticing here? This is a GT for a woman, okay? And notice what's around her. This is why I am showing you this GT, because here she has the garden, right? She also has the child, and she's got the dog. There it is, the whole interpersonal cluster. All right, so the garden is also the life area card for your social circles and networks. So in a grand tableau reading, regardless of where it falls, even if it fell far from her, we would read around it to get information on her social life, right? Okay, so what do the method of distance guidelines say about the garden card? Well, notice that the original instructions referred to the card as the park, and it was referencing the parks within the cities where people went to see and be seen by others. This is why the near and far reference is linked to your social standing. Now, when near, in the most general sense, it shows that there are other people around the seeker playing a role in the seeker's life during the time period of the spread. That's the most general thing you can say about seeing this card near your seeker. All right. This may say nothing more than that she's socially active at this time, right? And is playing a significant role in her life. With favorable cards, it can say that the seeker is well respected and aligned with others who can help them get ahead, or that it offers the possibility of friendships and alliances that can lead to improvement in the seeker's affairs, right? So it can say all of that by falling in her comfort zone. Now, if the seeker is facing difficult times, being respected by one's social network says that they'll have support and loyalty from those in their environment. So if you also find the dog, and she also has the tower, right? Now this is cool, because the dog and tower near the garden, which they are, they got the star between. Okay, yeah, the tower and dog near the garden is telling me that these alliances will lead to long-lasting loyalties that will benefit her. Ooh. Okay. So this is a reading for Clovis. That's not her real name. Okay. And, she's got great cards around her, right? Except for, what do we see right above her? This is where her story begins. It begins with a warning of risk. And what is this scythe pointing to? The mice above her head. So I would say that the risk to her is regarding gnawing worries on her mind, possibly related to a feeling of lack or the loss of something, right? But notice she has the garden and the dog right below her, as well as other great cards around her. So if she can just get the mice out of her head, she'll see that she has the opportunity to find the solution. Right, that's the key. She has the opportunity to find the solution by connecting with those around her, right? I mean, she's got loyal friends and people to support her. So, and they are offering her their assistance. Right? That's what this whole group around her is saying to me. Now, if the garden was near her, but surrounded by bad cards, we could say that the seeker's social life requires attention. Right? You can read around the garden to see what people it's referring to. Like, what people is this card referring to? You would read the cards around it to describe who these people are. So here we have the anchor. Now the anchor is not my work card, but if it was my work card, we could say that this garden is referring to people that she works with, colleagues or her regular clients, right? We do have the child here, so I would say that these people are either young people or new groups of people just newly coming into her life, right? The house here would tell me that these are people she's quite familiar with. And we got the tower here, right? We got, here we have this diagonal house and tower would tell me that these are people she's known for quite a long time. She's very familiar with them and comfortable with them and has known them for a long time. These are people who help her find alternatives. And they offer her guidance. And they are people she feels safe and secure with. We got the anchor here. We got the stars, the anchor. Okay? Now, when the garden is far, if we can say, if we're saying that the near position of this card can refer to being socially active, well then the far position would indicate being socially inactive or isolated. At worst, in the far position, it warns that the seeker, it warns the seeker of false friends, or indicates that others are rejecting or turning their backs on the seeker, right? You want to check, when the garden is far, you want to check to see if the gang of adversaries is hanging around the seeker's card, all right? Because then she'd be dealing with a lack of support and loyalty from her friends. And when the garden is far, you want to see if the other interpersonal cards are near her, right? So say the garden was far, but she still had the child and the dog. Well, then she knows she still has some people that support her, and she's still being seen by at least somebody as being kind and deserving of kindness in return, right? Now, sometimes the garden is far because the seeker is involved in something that is socially unacceptable within a particular community, right? It's the social card, and if it were far, you know, what if we were reading this for work? You know, it could relate to that community, her work community. That's what I mean by a particular community. So, you know, anything that's socially unacceptable could involve crime. It could involve addictions, or even just unconventional behaviors or thinking, right? Now, that would all have to be confirmed by the other cards in the spread. So I would immediately, in that case, look for the lily card, right? Like if this were far and she had like negative cards around her, right? And I would look to see, is she trampling that lily, or is it still above her? Well, here it's above her, so. Okay, now let's look at some card pairings. Let's look at some good old-fashioned card pairings, right? Okay, so the garden and the rider. That could refer to the media, right? Public news, information. Do I have the bouquet in here? Well, I don't have the bouquet. Where'd the bouquet go? Well, okay, well, the garden and the bouquet would be hospitality, okay? The garden and the stars could be the internet, or, you know, the internet in general, or it could just refer to websites or online social media sites. If you add the letter to that, right? If you had this little grouping here, that could be communicating within these sites, right? Networking on social media, right? The garden and the birds. Let's get rid of the star. Okay, the garden and the birds. What's currently trending, right? Among the masses, what's currently being discussed in society. All right, the garden and the ring. Well, if the garden is a group of people and the ring is a contract or appointment, then put them together and you have a contract among many people, or an appointment for a meeting or gathering. Okay, the garden and the moon could be describing something that's widely popular or socially accepted by society. And then, of course, a newer common pairing is the garden and the fox for public places where people are literally masked. Remember, this is the masked card. So this can refer to symbolic masks too, the ones we put on when we interact in public. Okay, that is it, my friends, for the garden card. I hope you enjoyed the video. Remember to like and share this video, as well as hitting that thanks button if you are so inclined. As always, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, everybody.